Hello, everyone. Super excited to be with you all for this interview. And this is an exciting interview for me. One, because Sarah is in a field that we love to provide resources for in our practice as a birth doula. But number two, because I've used her personally, and I'd say my wife probably has used her more personally than I have. But with personal experience, I know that we can provide an amazing resource for you guys in our community if you are a pregnant woman, if you work with pregnant women, or maybe you're thinking of becoming pregnant. This is going to be a great interview for you today. So, Sarah Auna is a birth doula, which means she's a birth expert who helps families have a safer, swifter, and more pleasurable birth. And she does this through advocacy, inspiration, education, and coaching, both during pregnancy, during the actual birth process, and then postpartum, which we use her in all of that realm. So, welcome, Sarah. Happy to have you today.
Thanks, Ty. Good afternoon. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, excited to be here with you. So let's start with an overview because I know you've been doing this for a long time. You have over
Yeah.
350 births, which is pretty amazing. When I picture like one birth at a time, it takes a while to get that much experience. So why
True.
don't you share if someone's looking into having a doula for the first time, what are some of the reasons people choose having a doula to support their pregnancy, their birth, their delivery?
Yeah. So, something that we say often in the doula community is that a doula is for anybody who would like to have a shorter birth, who would like to have a less painful birth, and who would like to have a safer birth. And I just don't know a single family that wouldn't want all three of those things for their birthing time.
Absolutely.
It The evidence for doula care says we help bring more information and preparation for the family. We help bring continuity and security for the family. And when those things happen, families feel more confident to be in the space, to make decisions in the space, and also to allow and not get in the way of things that are going really great. So when I'm thinking about who needs a doula, it's anybody giving birth who would like a safer birth, a quicker birth, and a more pleasurable birth.
That's awesome. And I think that's so valuable with, say for myself, I've been a chiropractor for 13 years and done a lot with families and kids and pregnancy, but actually having our own baby was a way different experience. And knowing that there was a lot of things that I felt solid with, but when it's actually my wife and my son in the picture, like you start to kind of, I need another resource here. And so that was so
Yeah,
great, um, having that resource for you as you.
thank you. And I think that one of the things that people wonder about a doula is exactly what you're talking about right now is this idea of if a partner is there to support, then how does the doula collaborate with that person as opposed to get in the way of that person providing the support that they want to give? The love, the attachment, the attentiveness that you wanted to give your wife. And if a doula is doing their job, what they're doing is they're enhancing the attachment already. They're enhancing the partnership. They're enhancing the collaboration between the birth giver and whomever they've chosen to be in that space with them.
Yeah,
Their partner, their midwife, their OB, whomever it is, the doula is here to enhance those relationships.
that's what I appreciated working with you, Sarah, was that uh, throughout the process you were helping Samantha, my wife, and you're also kind of saying, "Hey Ty, you could say this here," or "Hey Ty, like during the delivery, maybe put your hand here, do these things." So you were coaching me just as much as my wife in order for me to feel like I could support and be involved in the process instead of
Sure.
kind of like stepped aside and just letting you guys do your thing over there. But like, no,
Right.
I wanted to be engaged in the process, and you provided that space for me
Yep.
to do so in a confident way.
Thank you. And it's important to know that if you are a partner, if you're a parent, becoming a parent in the space, not even giving birth, that that was the birth of you too as a father. And a partner, a birth partner, especially if they're going to be the parent of that child, is in a tricky position because they're having an emotional experience, but they're also being asked to be in a very functional, helpful position as well. And so, how do you let your heart grow 10 times its regular size and like know where to push on the body to make the pain or the sensation less than it is? So, happy to help you do that, and happy to see you be born as a father in that space as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What would you say if are most of your clients someone who have had a doula before, or is this their first time using a doula? What does that look
It's a,
like?
it's a really great question. So I'd say it's almost half and half. Um, in America, we don't have a wonderful perception or narrative or ritual around birth. We have a fraught, a highly intensive, medicalized tradition around birth. And so all kinds of families come to doula care to help maybe minimize some of the impact of that narrative and enhance what birth actually is. It's a rite of passage, it's a highly connective, community, emotional experience in a person's life. And so first time families will come to me because they want to avoid this narrative of fear, of pain, of the loss of autonomy within a medical system. And what I do with those first time families is I help them decide, what do I want this experience to be like for me? Where best can I get what I want? And that might be in the hospital, that might be in a freestanding birth center, and that might be in their home. And I get to play matchmaker with them in that way. And then sometimes a family will have had an experience already with birth that was either wonderful and supportive and rich, and they want to do everything to replicate that experience. And so they bring a doula in to help that happen again. Or they had an experience that was hard, that felt like that narrative of fear and oppression, and they want to do it different this time. And then the doula comes to help create space for that new possibility.
I love that.
I love that too.
Yeah, I think the advocacy piece there is, like you say, we get so caught up in a sense, the dangers or the fears of pregnancy. And what I love is your ability to say, well, here's the things that actually go really well in pregnancy.
Yeah,
Here's the ways that pregnancy actually it's natural. We're designed to do it. Here's how you can do it more safely. So as my wife and I work together, we could feel confident in the choices we are making.
that's right. And there's no right way to birth your child. There's as many ways to birth as there are to be a parent. And what I found is if it's best for you, then it is the best thing. And so to be able to be a chameleon of sorts in my support and know that a family that's choosing one location with one type of support, we can enhance that. And another family that's choosing another type of support in a different location, we can enhance that.
That's great to meet someone where they're at and just help go to the next level. Is
That's right.
with that being said, is are there different styles of doulas out there, or is
Yeah.
it more just different experience levels?
Yeah. This is such a great question. And I might have said this to you the first time we met. But finding your doula is a lot like dating, right? To have a doula is to enter into both a professional but also an intimate um, relationship. And so you first and foremost need to find a doula that doesn't just hit the check boxes of the types of qualifications you're looking for, but who has that je ne sais quoi. That is the person that matches you, that your magnetism sees and is attracted to their magnetism. And so that's where I always start when people are searching for a doula. I know that their heart is really going to do the choosing, essentially. And so I can just be myself. And then all of my skills, my training, my certifications that might also need to play in as factor are kind of added bonuses to just the essentialness of me. And I can even say more about that. So like there are doulas who love and specialize and thrive in hospital settings, and they really know how to optimize the hospital setting. And then there are doulas who specialize in more traditional home birth, and they know how to optimize that setting. There are doulas who specialize in spiritual or faith-based practices. If families are practicing a faith-based ritual or a faith-based lens of life, there are doulas who also identify as such and use those tools to enhance. And there are also doulas who are very evidence and science and data driven, and that can be really soothing and helpful for that personality of the family.
What I loved working with you was the combination that you provided of the emotional support with the science. So the first time we met you, I remember you came in and you and continued times, anytime you'd walk into our place, you could pick up immediately Samantha's emotional state. And you knew exactly what she needed emotionally, and you could connect with her. And every time you walked in, you would say something or comment, and she would just say, "Ah, that is how I feel." And it happened over and over and over again. So I applaud you for your that. I think it's such a talent and a strength of yours that probably isn't in like the common checklist of doula training, but
Thank
it is that skill that you have. So I love that. And then the combining with, we had a question on if we wanted to do hypnobirthing or Bradley, and you could send over an article that was actually, here's some science-based research on the difference between the two.
you. Yeah.
So I feel you blend the two beautifully.
That is nice of you to say. I like to think about in the Venn diagram of life, there's magic and there's science. And right in the middle is where birth lives. And so how lucky am I to get to, inhabit this really unique place?
Yeah, and especially, the prenatal period, that emotional support was amazing. But then the birth itself, realizing that in order to have my wife's body in a calm enough nervous system state to have the baby continue to progress through, that it was an emotional space, and like you holding the certain amount of space that lets us feel calm is going to outweigh any scientific thing in that moment. And
That's
so
right.
that's what we really appreciated, was that space that you could create and hold.
Thank you. There's a lot that a family can do in preparation, using the evidence, using science, using their logical brain to remove obstacles. And there's a huge body of knowledge about what creates the best birth outcomes. And that's the work of labor that you do prior to the actual doing of the birth. And then if you've done enough of that preparation, which isn't like a huge amount of things, but it's a few very significant weighted things to consider. If you've done that work, then when it comes time to birth, the only work you have to do is the work of the labor, is the physical and emotional work of the labor. And the other factors have already been dealt with.
Which is huge, because when you're in the moment, you don't
That's right.
want too many things to be focusing on.
That's right. And really, frankly, if you're giving birth, you cannot focus on anything else. Your physiology either says, I've got one thing and one thing alone to worry about, and that is getting this baby either out of my body or not allowing this baby to come out of my body yet because I'm so scared. So you have two options, but you only get to pick one. I'm allowing, or I'm withholding because something makes me afraid.
Yeah, I know Samantha commented on the ability, she, during the birth process, she wanted to be able to work with her contractions or surges, or work
Surgery.
with the baby, right? And
Yeah.
so I know when things were starting and you had mentioned, okay, when a surge comes, say welcome in your head, or not a
That's
helper
right.
reminder, say welcome. And when the
Yeah.
surge ended, say thank you. And we love
Oh,
that piece. We've shared that a lot of your help in that realm, because it allowed Samantha to blend in more instead of resist and say, "Oh my gosh, there's a surge, and it's painful, and I've got to try to avoid it." Like, no, it's
right.
happening in my body, and I want to be part of it instead of separate from it.
Yes. And a huge part of how I do birth doula care is this integration and this embodiment that you're talking about. You can understand intellectually that the contraction is your uterus squeezing tight to help the baby come low and rotate on the pelvic floor. But when you're feeling that in your actual body, it doesn't feel as perhaps safe or academic as that description. And so to help people do the emotional work of knowing that the power of the sensation, the strength of the contraction isn't separate from them, it is them. And that birth is not something that happens to you, it's something that happens through you. And that's as best as I can encapsulate how I like to help people in this way.
It's beautiful.
Thanks.
Yeah. Are there other things that you'd want to share from your own perspectives, or types of clients that you really love to work with, or other things that you bring unique approaches around?
Yeah. So, with doing birth as much as I have, and also kind of coming up in a new paradigm of birth doula care, maybe in a generation prior, and maybe not even. My eldest child is 10 years old. And when I was birthing her, some of these older paradigms existed where the doula was more of a passive observer in the space, that they were there for continuity and that they were there for witness, but that they didn't insert or impart themselves into the space much. They allowed what would unfold to unfold with some helpful tips and tricks. And now there's kind of this newer philosophy of doula care that leans a little bit more into a compassionate advocacy that speaks up a little louder and earlier on has discussions with families about where they can get what they're seeking, how they can influence or inform for themselves greater outcomes, shorter labors, less interventions. And it's really, at times, it feels like a peaceful warriorship where there is work to be done. But if I'm going to enhance the experience, I have to do so in a calm, peaceful, articulate way that's still driven by that passion to create something that the family feels is satisfaction, is a success, is positive, is healthy. And this is not how the system is set up at this time in general mainstream medical America right now. So yes, to be a little bit more of a peaceful warrior in that space that in no way disrupts the health, safety, and collaboration of the person with their care provider or their place of birth, but does allow them to avoid pitfalls or does allow them to go around challenges that they just simply need not do.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And it's a tricky position to be in. This is really hard to balance a space of non-disruptive, peaceful action and really wanting to help people come to an outcome that does take some grit.
Right. Yeah, it was an interesting balance, I know, for us. Um, and when you talked about too, kind of the information piece, I know you had mentioned, like, instead of Googling, shoot me a text, ask me the question. And so
That's
that
right.
support leading up to things was so nice to simplify the process. When you mentioned it's so medicalized in many areas that if we tried to seek the answer purely in that realm, it could often create more fear that then we carry into the birth experience. But if we can get the version that's, I don't know, the safer version that helps create peace and calm and more love in the birth process, which helps the delivery.
That's right. One of my favorite nuggets to teach to exactly what you're speaking to is from Ina May Gaskin, is a traditional midwife and kind of the grandmother of modern midwifery care in America. She has something called the Sphincter Law, which is a funny thing to think about. The Sphincter Law says that if any one of your sphincters, which I like to think of as like bouncers at the club, your mouth, your throat, your anus, your cervix, if any of those sphincters are like on lockdown, like no more people are coming into this club, then they all walkie-talkie each other and all of them say, nope, no more. And the information that comes into those bouncers comes in through our head and our heart. And so if we are calm neurologically, and if we are open in this emotional heart space, then those two bosses say to the sphincters, hey, it's cool, go ahead and open up. And we have this as above, so below experience. As above in the head and the heart, I have information, I have security. So below in the cervix space, the cervical space literally helps to open and melt those tissues to make way for baby to come.
Yeah. Actually, so I brought a couple pictures in that I'll show one. So this is reminding me, I'm going to bring up a picture here of at our home birth. So I'm holding my wife Samantha, and this is one you had taken from above, Sarah. So they're in the tub, and I think it's a good example where my wife's trying to relax and relax
Yeah,
all the way down
that's right.
with her head. So I'll show that one. And part of the reason I'm showing these too is because Sarah took these during the delivery, and I just have 3 of them I'll show you guys. So that's another bonus of having a doula like Sarah at your birth, is she takes pictures and little videos throughout the whole process that we've been able to share with our friends and family and have like a nice little photo album in our phone to narrate things. Um,
That's wonderful. That's my previous profession, journalism, coming into play there.
yes. So here's a picture. We've got Samantha holding Mason after he was born, still in the tub. And then I'll show one last one of Mason more recently here. And so here's where he's at now. He just turned 3 months, but he's got a big smile on his face, looking happy. And I realize as a parent now how easy it is to want to show pictures of your kids to everyone you see and show them all the time. It's kind of a funny thing. Anyway,
Oh,
I appreciate that ability to, because it is such an interest. It's like a moment you obviously want to capture, and in the moment, like for me to try to go to my phone, there's no way that was going to happen
that's
because
right.
I just want to be present as possible with my wife and my new baby. So I appreciate you capturing those moments too, Sarah.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I think that it brings us into this kind of postpartum space that we haven't talked about too much yet, which is, I mean, I'm sure as you look at those pictures of you holding Samantha in the tub and then Mason now, like the tie still binds very closely to that birth tub. Even though you guys are 3 months out, I'm sure energetically it feels like you're still in that very new postpartum space.
Yeah.
Um, and so to recognize that fourth trimester, this time that you're in right now, which is still coming out of that very deep place that you all went to go get your kid,
Mhm.
you know? And so the doula gets to be here to continue to witness, to hold space, to be your Google in that time, and then to just, you know, have been a witness to that very important moment and know that there's someone else out there that cares about this with great reverence, just like you and Samantha do.
Yeah. And maybe you could share as we come to a close here, for your offerings. Then what I liked is we could pick how much prenatal support we wanted. Obviously, the birth process, you're going to be there, and then the
Yeah,
postpartum as well. And so you offer different packages, or you talk with
yeah,
someone to choose to kind of find what would be a fit for them. How is your
that's
general
right.
process there?
Yeah, I
If
think a
someone is
doula is right, right. A doula is wonderful at both offering like kind of the old country buffet of options when it comes to care, but the family doesn't always know exactly what they need. So if you can come with a diverse set of skills and offerings, and then really flag for the families those cornerstone pieces of care and knowledge that they need, once they start to experience the benefits of that type of care, then they begin to know more of what they need. So a doula can be with you multiple times prior to the birth. A doula could just show up on the day of your birth. You could have never met them before, and you could have a wonderful supported experience in that exact space. And then if they've been with you on your birth and pregnancy journey, to come in the postpartum space can feel like closing the circle. And so there's all kinds of services that can be offered within that. So each family can customize their package with me. And then I also have to give a shout out to postpartum doulas. There are people who specialize in continuing that journey in your home with the baby in your arms while things are still so new and intimate and raw, and you're still going through that transition of parenthood and that transition of becoming. My best space is in the pregnancy and birth space, but you can also bring a doula in to continue that journey into the postpartum time as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And we'll put in the comments, we can put your info. But what is the best way for people to get a hold of you if they're
Yeah.
interested in talking?
SarahAuna.com. That is my website,
Okay.
SarahAuna.com. And, to be a doula is to be myself. So the website is going to feel a little bit like a dating profile. Like, here are all the reasons that I am me. And then also, technically speaking, packages, offerings, certifications, and that professional side as well as testimonials, which is my favorite part of the website, is hearing parents speak from their hearts about their birth experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I will say you do a wonderful job at being you, and that's why we were so honored to work with you, because we knew you bring your true, authentic self every time we saw you, and it resonated with us, and it was a great experience. So thank you.
You're welcome, Ty. I feel the very, very same about all of you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in, and if you have any questions, reach out to Sarah, and we'll talk to you guys later. Bye,
Take
everyone.
care.